And here are the crypto top headlines covered in this video. CBOE approves registration for listing Fidelity Spot Bitcoin ETF. No SEC approval yet. Next, Goldman Sachs eyeing Bitcoin ETF roll via BlackRock and Grayscale. Also, BlackRock expected to seed ETF with $10 million worth of BTC. Welcome to Crypto Top Headlines, where there's no clickbait thumbnails or titles, and no speeches on my opinions, just bringing crypto's news to you. We are a new channel here on YouTube, and would greatly appreciate it if you would click on the like and subscribe buttons, as well as the notification bell. It does help support the channel, so thank you in advance for doing so. Now, on to these headlines. Our first top headline: CBOE approves registration for listing Fidelity Spot Bitcoin ETF. No SEC approval yet. The Fidelity Wise Origin Bitcoin Fund filed Form 8A to report approval of registering its shares as securities on the CBOE BZX exchange. The United States-based exchange CBOE accepted the registration for listing shares of a spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund proposed by Fidelity Investments. In a January 3 filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the Fidelity Wise Origin Bitcoin Fund said it intended to register its shares as securities listed on the CBOE BZX exchange. The Form 8A filing, while part of the process of registering an ETF with the SEC, did not necessarily suggest the Commission would approve the investment vehicle. My understanding here is that this is just a securities registration, said Bloomberg ETF analyst James Seifert on X. In order to list the ETF, still needs a 19B-4 approval, and they need an effective/approved/completed S1 document. No 19B-4 yet. I'm still looking towards next week. Seifert pointed to Bitwise's Spot Bitcoin ETF registration with NYSE ARCA filed on December 29th, but both filings don't mean they're approved or anything yet, according to the analyst. Volatility Shares Trust filed Form 8A with the SEC in June, ahead of its launch to list shares of a leveraged Bitcoin futures ETF on the CBOE BZX exchange. Many on social media seemed confused at the distinction between full SEC approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF and the registration with a U.S. exchange. Some experts, including Seifert, have speculated that the Commission could approve multiple spot BTC exchange-traded product applications ahead of a January 10th final deadline for a crypto investment vehicle from ARK Invest and 21 Shares. Despite many applications from asset managers, including Bitwise, Fidelity, WisdomTree, Invesco Galaxy, Valkyrie, and VanEck, the SEC has never approved a spot BTC exchange-traded product for listing and trading on a U.S. exchange. In June 2023, BlackRock, the firm with roughly $9 trillion in assets under management, applied for a spot Bitcoin ETF in the United States. While the SEC has not approved any spot crypto ETF, it has given the green light for investment vehicles linked to BTC and Ether futures. Many in the industry have suggested that approving a spot in Bitcoin ETF could increase crypto adoption and potentially increase the acceptance of blockchain technology. Our next top headline: Goldman Sachs eyeing Bitcoin ETF roll via BlackRock and Grayscale, says sources. Goldman Sachs is in talks to play the key role of being an authorized participant for BlackRock and Grayscale's Bitcoin ETFs if the SEC approves them, according to people familiar with the situation. Goldman Sachs, the high-profile Wall Street investment bank, looks likely to play a key role for the Bitcoin ETFs that BlackRock and Grayscale want to introduce in the U.S., according to two people familiar with the situation. The company is in talks to be an authorized participant, or AP, for the exchange-traded funds according to the people who requested anonymity. That's one of the most important jobs in the multi-trillion-dollar ETF industry, a role that involves creating and redeeming ETF shares to ensure the products trade in lockstep with their underlying assets. Goldman Sachs would join other finance giants in taking on that role. Last week, it was announced that JP Morgan Chase, Jane Street, and Cantor Fitzgerald would take on the AP job for some of the dozen or so companies seeking the Securities and Exchange Commission's permission to offer Bitcoin ETFs in the U.S. And many more names are likely to emerge, though the ones that have come out so far are among the biggest firms in U.S. finance. A source at a major trading firm said they expected each Bitcoin ETF to ultimately have 5 to 10 APs. Big U.S. banks, who have traditionally avoided dealing with cryptocurrencies directly, have been invited to join the hotly anticipated Bitcoin ETF party thanks to the adoption of a cash-based mechanism for handling the Bitcoin backing the shares, which is seen as a necessary part of winning SEC approval. The firms Goldman Sachs is seeking to partner with are major players. BlackRock is the biggest asset manager in the world, while Grayscale runs the $26 billion Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, the biggest Bitcoin investment vehicle. The Grayscale product is structured as a trust, though, and the company wants to convert it into an easier-to-trade ETF. Grayscale, which won a landmark court battle against the SEC that cleared the way for upgrading its Bitcoin trust into an ETF, last year named market makers Jane Street and Virtue Financial as proposed APs when the time came to make the transition. Goldman Sachs did not respond to requests for comment by press time. BlackRock and Grayscale declined to comment. Our next top headline, BlackRock expected to seed ETF with $10 million worth of BTC. BlackRock is reportedly planning to acquire $10 million worth of BTC as initial funding for its potential spot Bitcoin ETF, still currently under review for approval from the SEC. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager and one of the front-runners in the race to issue the first spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund in the United States, is expected to purchase $10 million worth of Bitcoin on January 3rd, according to analysts. On December 23rd, market research analyst James Seifert posted on X, highlighting BlackRock's intentions to seed its ETF with the Bitcoin it plans to purchase. Seifert followed up the post by saying that the document that mentions the BTC purchase is not final, approved, or effective, though the purchase would jive with our January approval prediction. He said that an injection of capital wouldn't necessarily mean the launch of the ETF, but that BlackRock could be expecting a release shortly after. According to Seifert, the inclusion of the January 3rd date is just teasing, and he drew the parallel to the date being that of the Genesis block of Bitcoin. A user on X asked Seifert if $10 million is the seed size he would expect, to which Seifert responded that it's fairly standard, but it is also subject to change. In late December, Eric Balchunas, a Bloomberg analyst, also posted about the anticipated purchase on January 3rd, saying that BlackRock's $10 million BTC purchase would be a pretty big bump from its initial $100,000 seed funding back in October. Balchunas also posted about Bitwise's Form S1 being filed, with Bitwise intending to seed its pending spot Bitcoin ETF with $200 million, which Balchunas says blows away what BlackRock plans to purchase. That's going to be a huge help in the early days of the race. No AP named, but probably forthcoming. While January 3rd has been predicted as the date for BlackRock purchasing its Bitcoin seed funding, there have also been multiple alternative reports stating the date has been pushed back to January 5th. Both dates are still speculative. Cointelegraph reached out to BlackRock for further information on the matter, and has yet to receive a response. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission set the deadline for amendments to the spot Bitcoin ETF applications for December 29, 2023, with BlackRock, Van Eck, and Valkyrie all filing last-minute amendments. The SEC's decision on the ETFs is anticipated by analysts to be announced by January 10th. So this concludes our top headlines. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to click on the like and subscribe buttons, as well as the notification bell. Also, leave your thoughts in the comments and share this video with your friends and family. Thank you all for watching Crypto Top Headlines, bringing crypto's news to you.